All right, continuing our look at what's happening with the world's crops, we're joined by Pipa Elias. She's Senior Policy Advisor for Global Lands and Climate at the Nature Conservancy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Pipa, when it comes to farming, you have countries like Israel and the US who are becoming much more technologically advanced, predicting things like the best times to water crops and how much, etc. So with that in mind, how do countries who don't have that edge deal with changing weather patterns?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important to recognize that the effects of changing weather patterns exacerbated by climate change and the uncertainty that that causes impacts farmers all around the world. Catastrophe can happen to any farmer and is important for those who are feeding their families and those who are exporting around the globe. So agriculture is just a place where so much comes together in terms of how differences in climate and possibly climate change can impact from an individual to the world. And in a lot of countries that are trying to work on improving their agricultural technology, it's been recognized globally that traditional knowledge and communities need to come together to work on prediction of weather patterns in the future and acknowledge that a lot of the farmers who are working on the land day in and day out for many years are those that have some of the most important information, and they need to be brought together to share that.
Now, as you mentioned, weather phenomenons and other things, but usually El Nino is the one that comes around every year and causes a lot of problems. That's when warmer temperatures, it changes the temperatures and it also changes the atmosphere's pressure and brings a lot of thunderstorms. How big of an impact has this had on agriculture so far this year?
Yeah, we are in an El Nino year. The prediction is that in the next few months, spring or early summer, the El Nino effect will be neutral and will essentially go away for the year. It's unclear at this point kind of how much of global crop production and changes in that production can be attributed to El Nino. But the biggest impacts are usually drought in some parts of the world. And so it really depends on when that drought hits during the crop cycle, whether it's during planting or harvesting, as to how El Nino can impact production.
And which countries would you say are really going to bear the brunt of the El Nino phenomenon?
Yeah, at this point this year, it's not quite clear yet. What was expected was that in the United States, California would be able to have some of their multi-year drought eased with El Nino.
And as you mentioned, in California, being a very large produce producer, especially here in the US, and it actually accounts for 2/3 of the fruits and nuts in the country. So with that being said, and they're having some rainfall, but they're still also battling a drought. Has it made any sort of difference with this rainfall?
Yeah, as you said, California produces over 400 different types of agricultural commodities, so it is an important part of our country's food system. The rains that have occurred over the past couple months have not been able to take California out of drought conditions. It has exacerbated the drought, but it still continues.
And with that being said, which are the crops that are really at risk at the moment?
So again, it depends on when the rain comes in the cropping cycle and which ones are under irrigation or not. So right now, as it's raining, it will depend on those crops that need natural rain that aren't irrigated and are being planted right now, well, those that benefit most from current rain. And the drought, again, it will depend on those that don't have irrigation and are most affected during their planting.
Now, with California struggling, what about some of the lessons that perhaps it could learn from other countries? For example, Australia battled a 15-year drought that ended in 2012. Are there any tips they can take from them?
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's really important to have the opportunity to share knowledge both amongst farmers and between countries. There are a lot of partnerships right now on countries who are learning from early warning systems on droughts, how that can be shared both amongst developed countries and between richer countries and poor countries that might not have that information available to them.
Now, with the brunt of El Nino behind us, would you say if you're an agriculture company and here's an investor, is that something that you'd want to invest in right now?
Well, I'm an ecologist and not someone in finance, but the way that the Nature Conservancy sees agriculture right now, we're really seeing a lot of opportunity for improved practices in agriculture. We're seeing a great amount of investment from agriculture companies in improving their environmental footprint, whether that's climate smart agriculture that is working on increasing food production while adapting and mitigating to climate change, or making sure that there are buffers in farms to help biodiversity. We're really seeing a lot of opportunity and a lot of improvements in the agricultural sector that we're excited about.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Pipa Elias from the Nature Conservancy, thanks again.